For those watching on the CIAA Sports Network, we welcome you to the 2023 Virginia Union Signing Day recap. I'm Sean Robertson with CBS 6 here in Richmond, along with the head coach, Dr. Alvin Parker. We're going to let you know the players that could make an impact for 2023 for Virginia Union, and we're going to take a look back at the season as a whole from 2022, a great season for Virginia Union Athletics. Coach, very solid list you got for 2023. Before we talk about the season last year, what did you think of this year's signing day list?
I just think first the coaches did an awesome job, just securing this class. The guys worked extremely hard. Some people might say we're a little picky sometimes and that we're extremely selective in the process of how we do things around here, but our process have worked. So we feel good about it, But again, just hats off to the coaches. Them guys did an excellent job. They kind of worked tirelessly and making sure that, we got what we needed. Mm-hmm. And we feel like today, we got what we needed. So, again, we didn't really pay attention to a lot of the things. We don't necessarily recruit stars around here. We recruit fits. So a lot of these guys that we have, we feel like we signed fit the program. And, with that kind of being said, we feel like they're going to lead us to where we want to go.
And some of those guys that were out in the country, out across the country and across the world, and we'll talk about one of them specifically, are here today. You'll probably hear from them in the background. We have a studio audience, so to speak, here today as we recap this signing day list. But first, we are going to talk about 2022 as a whole. Virginia Union back in the postseason, the NCAA playoffs for the first time in about, 8 years for the Panthers. Started off strong with that win, and everybody was talking about it afterwards, going to Valdosta State early in the season, beating the then-ranked number 2 team in the country, and that really put Virginia Union on a national map in 2022 last year.
Well, we got as highly ranked as number 10 this season. We made it up to 10 in the polls this year. I think we finished at right around 18. So that showed where we're going with the program. And again, that was kind of a signature win early on. But all 9 of them this past year were signature wins, if you ask me. Because it kind of put us somewhere that we wanted to go, which was the national playoffs. So again, the players played well. They bought into everything that we needed. And, we've had this type of buy-in before, but, some things probably, didn't go right here or didn't go right there, but it seemed like everything kind of went right and went well in 2022. So, and with this football thing, it's kind of like who do it the best for the longest. And I think we did that last year. We did it the best for the longest. But like anything else, it was a life lesson. You got to teach these guys that, you can't really have any stumbles along the way. We had one stumble that kind of led us out of not making it to the CIAA championship. But for the guys that are returning, it was a learning lesson. And I think, they're looking forward to the 2023 season.
As you get ready for the upcoming season, during off-season workouts and things of that nature, what is that motivation? Is the motivation the loss against to Chowan that did not allow you to make the conference championship game, or the playoff loss at home?
Sean, I would say both. Anytime you have 2 blemishes on your schedule, you kind of really try to, refine off of those. And that's what we've done into the offseason. We've paid attention to a lot of the things that we did not do right. We did a whole bunch of things right, so it was easier to pay attention to the things that we did not do right. So in terms of looking at that, just a final season assessment. And, it wasn't a lot we felt like we had to work on or that we had to kind of turn the corner on. But those things that we did put on that list, we're definitely going to do that.
And one of the things, and one of the players that did a lot of right was Jada Byers, Offensive CIAA Player of the Year this past season, and also the Willie Lanier Award winner given to the best small college player in the state of Virginia. He's back for another year for your program. And looking at the schedule for 2023, we talked about the win against Valdosta State, putting you guys on a national stage. You're going to start the season on a national stage, a great opportunity for this program. You're going to be in Canton, Ohio, opening up the season.
That's big time. I think, our administration, starting with the top, that's something that Coach Taylor kind of envisioned, some years back, and we talked about it, just being able to get us on what they kind of call the classic circuit, just making sure that people can kind of call you for those type of things, and when you perform, they do. So I think we performed well enough last year that we were able to get some calls like that to kind of secure some games like that, So to be able to play on the NFL Network, not just necessarily nationwide, but worldwide, to get a chance to play on that is something that's just defining for any, Division II program, let alone any other college program. So, we feel good about it. And it's going to speak volumes.
They're going to play Morehouse. That'll be the first game of the season right before Labor Day. Labor Day weekend will take place at Ken. Hopefully you'll get an opportunity to check out the Hall of Fame out there in Ken. And can we mention there's a possibility of another classic game that's going to be on the schedule for 2023?
Well, we'll hold on to it.
Okay.
All
right.
But it's possible. The schedule's already done for 2023. So I think we got a good, tough, challenging schedule ahead of us again. But like anything else in any other past years, we're up for the challenge.
Outside of that Morehouse game, is there one game that kind of like stands out amongst the other ones as far as outside of the rivalry game that team down south?
Well, we did something a little different this year. We focused on kind of playing more teams that were in the region and focused on playing more teams in the conference. So, not only are we going to play, Morehouse, which is a Region 2 team, that's who we're going to open up with. We're going to go with, after that, we're going to play 9 straight CIAA teams. Something that we have not done in quite a while. Again, locking it directly in region and playing some other teams that fit the scale of what the playoffs kind of ask you to do. So, we kind of got all that mapped out for 23, and like I said, we're looking forward to it.
And the new addition to the CIAA for 2023 will be Bluefield State. Shawan exits. Bluefield State will be a part of the conference. Panthers will see them sometime in the late October.
They'll feel that we got to travel to Bluefield this year. So we'll start there. That slate off, going up to Bluefield.
Okay. One of the things I thought was impressive with you is the fact that you had a lot of consistency with your staff since you've been here at Virginia Union. With success comes some change. Some guys have moved on to some other opportunities, and there are going to be some new additions to your staff, along with some guys that will have some new roles on your staff as well.
Correct. I guess that's the flip side of winning. When you win, people want your guys. And we have an extremely talented staff. Top to bottom. So with that kind of came, some exits, of course, but also with that came some promotions. So you'll see a few different titles along with some guys. Coach Bankston will go to our offensive coordinator role. He was our He was our quarterbacks coach and pass game coordinator last year, so he'll go to the offensive coordinator. Coach Pointer will go to the assistant head coach role. Coach Rowland will go to the associate head coach role, and we'll bring in a new offensive line coach. So we're still intact. Everybody kind of buys into what we want to do around here, so it's kind of easy when a new person is added or when new roles are given. And everybody's up for the challenge. So, that's the big thing. But like I said, that's the flip side to winning. And it happens in the world of college sports. It happens in the world of professional sports. So, it's nothing different here.
Absolutely. Right now, let's talk about the list. We'll talk about the mid-year signees first, and then we'll talk about the first-year signees in just a few minutes. You have some guys that are already on campus that you were able to lock in. Let's first start with the linebacker from Glenville State, Sean Bowers.
Sean was he's actually a local kid. He's a Mills Godwin kid. Who went up to Glenville last year and actually led that team in tackles. So he was kind of anxious to come back on. That's kind of where the portal kind of benefited us. To get somebody that wanted to come back home. So he's already on campus, enrolled in classes, and he's kind of amped and ready for the spring. But again, he brings something that we already have a good different type of energy. So he mixes in well with the guys, and again, he's a local guy, so he knows all about Richmond and Virginia Union and everything else. So adding him was a good addition. You
also got a couple of transfers also from the Division II ranks. Emory and Henry, who moved up from Division III to Division II, they're now will be losing Nehemiah Scott, a safety that will bring a nice punch to the Panthers program.
I'm pretty sure you know about him, Sean, a local guy. Another Richmond guy. From over Henrico. Again, coming back to town, did pretty good down Emory and Henry, but again, we did a lot of good work, and when I say these coaches did an excellent job just securing everything, with the list that we were able to put together today, you'll see guys from local as far as, local to as far as national, to as far as worldwide, so this is another local guy that we were able to get, to kind of help us on defense. What Coach Pointer and the rest of the defensive staff is doing over there. And, last year I think those guys held teams to about 17 points a game, last year, which was tops in, close to being tops in the nation. So we wanted to make sure we kind of added some guys that can keep us right there.
Scott played for Coach Gerald Glasgow at Henrico, who has decided to step down from the Warriors program over there at Henrico. Let's talk about the offensive lineman, Marshall Gill, from out of VMI. Another local.
He's Williamsburg.
Okay.
You know, so he's close to being local. You know, but all Southern Conference, if that means anything to anybody. You know, he's a left tackle. You know, everybody know how hard those are to come by. You know, so anytime you can give a guy like this, you know, when you turn on the film or when you see him, you know, it's not much talking you got to do. You know, he's one of those type of guys. You know, he walks in the door to me and has the capability of being an all-CIAA type of player. So we feel extremely, extremely good about him.
And they come from an offense that loves to run the football. So that's right down your alley, right there.
Close.
Yep. We got a quarterback on the mid-year signees list, Glenn Rice from out of Gardner-Webb, 175-pounder, 5'11" guy. What will he bring to the table?
He's dynamic, you know, in terms of that. Again, got him out of the portal. You know, he's a Texas kid. You know, he's from Lancaster, Texas, like in that Metroplex area, you know, down there. So had an extremely good high school career. Signed with Gardner-Webb out of high school, and we got him out of the portal from there. Again, he's already enrolled and looking to compete here in the spring. So, you know, he's a dynamic passer as well as a rusher. So it'll give us something a little different.
Nice quarterback competition coming up soon.
Absolutely.
Decory Randall, another linebacker that Virginia Union picked up, mid-year signee from out of Iowa Central Community College.
Chicago kid, you know, had a real good season out there at Iowa Central. You know, we actually recruited Decory to come with the 2022 class. You know, but he chose to stay another year at the JUCO, and when he did, he had another good season. So we never forgot about him. So, you know, we were able to double back and still make a huge impression on him, enough for him to sign with us to come in the mid-year.
And the sixth mid-year signee on the offensive side, playing wide receiver, was down in Norfolk State this past year, Corey Addo. Is that how you pronounce his last? Adu? What will he bring to? Good size for a wide receiver.
He's a local kid. He's a Clover Hill kid.
Okay.
So, you know, again, we had him on the recruiting radar previously. You know, he went to Norfolk State when we had him the first time, you know, and now, you know, I guess we, again, made a good enough impression that, you know, when kids hit the portal, you're able to kind of go back in and kind of find a way to get them back. And, again, you know, you look at the list and you see 3 local guys out of those mid-year guys. So, you know, we feel like we're doing our due diligence locally.
And you got a balance when we talk about the first-year guys that will come to Virginia Union in 2023. 16 total first-year players sign on with Virginia Union. And we're going to start with the young man from Phoebus, state championship team this past year in Class 3, won their state championship down in Williamsburg. Jaden Early, a safety from Phoebus.
Kind of all everything, all region, all Tidewater, you know, all state, you know, won a couple state championships. We play a little quarterback down there, you know, offense, and kind of help those guys in the state championship. And but we're recruiting to play defense, you know. So, you know, again, it's been a process with him. He's a kid that's come to unofficials, officials, everything else, and he was just as interested in us as we were in him, you know. So, you know, anytime you add guys that got that pedigree of a winner, having 2 state championships under his belt, you know, means you're going to kind of get something like that when they get to your program. So, you know, we feel good about Jaden.
Looking at your list, like the first 5, and in no specific order, come from that Tidewater 757 area. 2 from Southampton High School, Jaden White, cornerback, and also Jules Cooper, 6'2" tight end from Southampton.
Jaden, we got 2 Jadens. So Jaden was a little bit of everything down there at Southampton. He was a guy who had 30-plus touchdowns last year, 9-plus interceptions, you know, last year. So he was extremely dynamic in what he did. We're looking at him to play defense, you know, but when he gets the ball in his hands, he's extremely good. You know, so again, you can tell that about the 30-some touchdowns that he scored last year. You know, and Southampton's been a good area for us. You know, so we feel good about what Coach Parker's doing down that way, and you know, he always had the guys up here at our camps and everything else. So we get a good long chance to look at those guys and kind of, you know, get to see how they fit with us. You know, and so the 2 guys that we got down there, Jaden and Joel's, were need positions. You know, again, wanted to add some depth to the secondary on defense, and Joel's is a tight end on offense that we like, you know, and he does a lot of good things in the pass game as well in the blocking game.
And that's been a big thing for you and your program the last couple of years when you had those camps, especially a couple during the pandemic when you weren't able to go out and go out and do home visits or official visits on campus. They had the opportunity to come on campus, see the facilities, work with the staff, and that seemed like that's been a big bonus for you guys in recent years.
Huge, and it's grown every year. Now we're selling it out, because I think, we're putting a good product on the field and everybody's seeing us, on national and local TV. And, we played 5 games on TV last year. So, and having that, everybody kind of want to see what that, Virginia Union mystique is all about, So, in offering those type of things and making them open to everybody gets the opportunity to come and see, So, that's been good for us. You get a chance to kind of be up close and personal. We coach you the same kind of way we coach our kids. So, it's easy to evaluate you at that point. So, that's been something that's been good for us. And I think, like you said, we started it up right around the pandemic. And we did that, it was a recruiting type of tactic at that point. But now it's become something that everybody expects. So, we're going to keep that going.
Next player on the 2023 recruiting list, Isaiah Wallace from out of Warwick High School. Warwick made the Class 4 state semifinals, lost to Dinwiddie in a mud bowl back in December. 6 foot, 170-pound wide receiver.
He brings speed to the table. So anytime you can add speed, you do it. So he's a guy that's performs just as well in track as he does in football. We're already pretty fast out there on that edge, so we wanted to make sure we added some more speed. So, like I said, anytime you can do that, you want to do it. So, we felt fortunate enough to get, Isaiah to commit here.
Perennial power from the 757 is the next school we're going to talk about. IC Norcom High School, Kidell Painter, another, position of need, tight end, big size, 6'6", 245.
Yeah, he plays just as good on defense as well, so we had a hard time kind of deciding where we want to play him at, but he brings something to the game on offense that we felt like we did not have, the size, so again, we elected to, recruit him as an offensive player, but if you flick on his tape, people probably say, well, them coaches up there need to play him on defense, so it's good to have a person that has that, that skill set, his size is unmatched. When you're doing this recruiting thing, you look for size, you look for speed, you look for, things like that. But again, like I said earlier, you look for fit, and it's good when you can have all 3 of those type of things. So, he possesses all the things that we feel like we need.
Now, the next one, a young man from out of Salisbury in North Carolina, pulled him out of Livingstone's backyard. Let me see. Jamaica Wells, 5'11", 190-pound running back. How were you able to get him out of Livingstone's backyard to come to Virginia Union?
He had a plethora of offers, and we did not go out of state that much this year, as everybody probably could see, but we were extremely impressed by him, and you kind of click on the film and you kind of, sit down and talk with him and the family and everything. We were impressed by the whole gamut of things, player of the year down that way, over 2,000 yards rushing, had a lot of accolades behind his name, too many probably to even name. So, and again, we felt like the fit was there. We kind of self-labeled ourselves as RBU, so, everybody here at VUU, we RBU. So, because we always put out good running backs, so he'll add to what we already have.
You mentioned not going out of state. Out of the 16 first-year signees that will be at Virginia Union in the fall, only 3 come out of state: North Carolina, Maryland, and we'll mention the other young man from out of Europe, Denmark. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But first, we'll go back in state. E.C. Glass from Southwest Virginia, Livarius Gilbert, 6 foot, 185-pound wide receiver.
We wanted to make sure we kind of get in that area. If you paid a little bit of attention to our roster, we hadn't been really in the western part of the state in a while, and I know when I played here, it was an area that we dominated, so we wanted to make sure we got back in that area. So, we recruited it pretty heavily, so, Laveria's a second-team All-State kid, put up big-time numbers, and he was another guy that came to the camp. We offered him a camp. He came and he showed out so much that, he left our camp with an offer, so, and to go and put up the numbers that he did this season, it was kind of, we were locked in, so, and he committed pretty early on in the process, and it worked out.
Another player from our area, from the Central Virginia area, Central Region, from Thomasdale High School, Brandon Camarasana, 6 foot, 225-pound linebacker, coming off of a good season for Thomasdale, made the regional semifinals in Class 6A.
Again, size, speed, power, we feel like he has a skill set that he can play the linebacker or like a rush type of end for us. Great film, again, we felt just like it was a good fit. You know, and I probably say that about so many of the kids because that's kind of what we recruit off of. You know, again, he just fit. You know, and again, what the scheme was on defense, you know, it allows for guys that's going to get to the ball and tackle you and get you to the ground. When you look at his film and when you look at, you know, what he's done, you know, he presented all of that. You know, he don't need to gang tackle you with everybody else. He can get you to the ground. So, again, we felt good about what he brought to the table.
No question. Very good tackler from Thomas Dale. When you look at the first-year signees list, you look at offensive linemen, 5 offensive linemen on this list. The first one from Freedom High School in Northern Virginia. They won the Class 6 state championship in the VHSL this past season, and a big reason, their offensive lineman, Adrian Crespin, 6'3", 265-pounder.
I don't know what to say. You know, if anybody out there can find the film, just click it on. You know, he dominates. You know, and that's kind of what, you know, the word we like to use when we talk about, you know, anybody that we want to play up front. We want you to be able to dominate. You know, the type of offense that we have. We feel like, you know, we average 40-plus points a game, and we kind of, you know, play bully ball sometime up front and push you around, and he fits that mold. You know, he dominates whoever's in front of him. You know, so, you know, it was kind of easy to make sure we put an offer out there for him, and you know, through the process he accepted. So, you know, he was a big time signee for us.
That's the same Freedom High School that put up 100-plus points in a regular season game this past year. We go out of state to look for this defensive end from Seneca Valley out of Maryland, Jordan Kamara, 6'2", 230-pounder.
Well, if you look at that whole DMV area, that's probably the second highest number of kids that we have on the roster. You know, so you know, we recruited that area for some things that we did not find in state. You know, and Jordan was one of them. You know, give us a little bit of something different coming off of the edge. You know, plays with a little chip on his shoulder. You know, again, when we get those type of guys that we feel like fit what we want to do and have a skill set like he has, it's kind of easy, you know. So, you know, again, the process was good with him, and again, like I said about so many of the other guys, he fit.
Another top program from the 757, Maury High School. They made the VHSL Class 5 state championship 2 seasons ago. Isaiah Whitehurst, an offensive lineman, 6 foot, 270-pounder.
That was a good process as well because we actually had his brother here, you know, a couple years back, you know, so was familiar with the family. And that made that process go a certain way. But an all-state kid, you know, again, I'll say this again, another kid that came to the camp and performed, you know, so when he did that, you know, we got a chance to kind of see him live. Although we didn't have on pads or anything like that, you can kind of see that he had what it take, you know, to be here and be somebody that can make a contribution, you know, so that was good for us.
When you have those camps, and you mentioned you don't work these guys out in pads, what's like one of the biggest things you look for, especially from an offensive lineman, when you have them at a camp like that?
I think with offensive linemen in that sense of the camp, then you kind of look for that attitude. You know, somebody who has the attitude to compete, you know, because there's certain things you can do in those type of drills that you present at camps. You know, but somebody that has the attitude to compete, you know, and can do it at a high level. You know, again, that's one of those positions that, you know, you're not going to get all the glitz and all the glamour. You know, those guys, you know, got to wear concussion caps every day, knee braces every day, and all that type of stuff. So it's not one of those fancy positions. So you got to find that in a guy.
Absolutely.
That you can say, you know what, you know, he has a bunch of toughness, he has a bunch of grit, and those type of things you can just sit and watch. And we felt like we did that, and he was a kid that we felt good about.
The third of the 5 offensive linemen on the freshman signee list, Sean Battle, 6'2", 280-pounder from Franklin High School.
Another one. You know, a lot of the times, you know, a lot of people go to the big areas. We did, you know, but, you know, you still got to make sure you do your due diligence in the small towns and in those areas like that, and Franklin was one of them. You know, so we made sure we got it there. We really didn't leave any bush unshook or any rock unflipped, you know, to make sure we got what we needed. You know, and again, we wanted to make sure we added some depth to the offensive line, and Battle gives us that.
Another player from the secondary, the second safety from Adley High School from Central Virginia, Austin Gaines, 5'10", 175-pounder.
Again, Austin brought something that was a little dynamic. He's able to kind of, we think, play a little bit of both the corner and the safety for us. You know, again, doing your due diligence locally, you know, making sure you get somebody that fit. You know, he was one of those. You know, we feel like he already has like a skill set that he can kind of come in and make some early on contributions. You know, so again, we want to find out where we're going to play him when he gets here. But we definitely know he's in the secondary, either the corner or the safety position.
And for those who follow high school football in this area, one of the top teams in Central Virginia, the Highland Springs Springers, they just came off a 5th state championship in VHSL Class 5 in the last 8 years. Alim Foster Powell, 6'1", 180-pound cornerback, came off a great secondary for head coach Lauren Johnson in Highland Springs.
Coach Johnson does a great job over there with them guys, and you can see in the numbers, the number of wins, the number of players they get in, the college every year. So of course, right in our backyard, you're talking about, you take about a 10 to 12 minute drive right over there to campus to kind of, see what they have and to be able to check and evaluate those guys on a consistent basis. So Aline was one of those guys we felt pretty good about, that we was able to add. That defense was great over there at Highland Springs. Similar to what we do on defense. Mm-hmm. So it was easy to kind of see where he would fit what we wanted to do, So again, that process was long and the evaluation was good. We felt good about making the decision to sign him.
Yeah, I think I saw a tweet earlier today. They had 8 players from their secondary sign today to play college football at any level. 8 of those guys who saw some time from that state championship team.
Correct.
Imanje Whitaker, we go back to Warwick High School, 6'2", 280-pound offensive lineman. The 4th offensive lineman on this list for you guys this year.
Again, like I said, we wanted to make sure we add depth to that room, and just adding depth to that room. We found a lot of good guys that we felt like can play for us, but again, we were selective. And Whitaker was one of the guys that we feel like we selected, that can kind of come in and make some impact right away. Although we wanted to add some youth to the team, we felt like we got a good amount of older guys, but you want to add some youth that can compete. And we feel like he's one of those guys.
And the last one, you got to tell us the background story of this young man coming from Denmark, Matthias Nielsen, 6'5", 295-pound offensive lineman. How in the world were you able to get a guy from Denmark to come here to Richmond and play for Virginia Union?
Sometimes it's just by the grace. Sometimes, because I get over 1,000 emails a day, and and some trusted contacts and things like that. So when you reached out to, sometimes you just got to listen. And it's one of those situations, where you listen and you say, okay, well, let me take a look and see, and when I clicked on the film, my eyes just got big, and I sent it to the rest of the coaches, and it was kind of a no-brainer around the table, So in terms of talking to him, his dream is to come to America to play football, So we made a lot of dreams come true, today, with the other 15 guys that we signed, but I think we definitely made one come true for him. Because it's been a lifelong dream for him, and everybody's gonna know who he is immediately. When he gets here, he's gonna be one of the biggest ones and one of the guys that's doing a whole lot of work. So we're excited about him, getting here and jumping in, right in playing. So we feel good about him.
He's the biggest offensive lineman on your signee list. He's 6'5", 295 pounds. You mentioned a lot when you were talking about these guys about being selective. You're now in a position of being selective. When did that change from being, kind of guys where you're looking to seek more to being in a position where you can kind of almost take a step back and have these guys come to you and say, I want to play for you and Virginia Union?
I think it started kind of as soon as we got here a little bit, but it started because of the retention that we had. So when you retain good guys and you're not looking up and you don't have a bunch of guys in the transfer portal and you're able to retain your team, you're able to build a little bit more every year. So, you already got the house built. You're just adding on another extension to it. So it's kind of with that, So a lot of programs might start over every year and want to, add a bunch of different guys, So, we roughly add about maybe, 15 to 20 guys a year because we feel like we've done a good enough job in terms of, the retention process. So when you get that done, it makes it a little easier to be selective, and then winning. Like anything else, we feel like everybody wants to be a part of that, and we feel like we got a good product here. We have something great to offer, we feel like we can offer you a chance at a great competitive degree, and we can offer you a great chance of being an extremely competitive football team. So, so at the end of the day, when we kind of hit the road and we were selling Virginia Union, we could sell everything around here, but, at the end of the day, I think the coaches and the staff we just really kind of sold ourselves. And a lot of people want to come here and play for us. So that's good.
Before we let you go, we were talking about this before we came on air about we did this last year, and you had some guys that actually made an immediate impact for your program in order to make the playoffs. But give us, like, I guess, a realistic timetable to say this class is good or this class is better as other classes that you've had. Like, is one cycle a legitimate time frame to say, we've seen progress with this group, or do we need a little more time to really give a real fair assessment of this particular recruiting class?
That's a little different to say, Sean, because we had some young guys that performed extremely well. So we had Jada Bias, who performed well at the high level he did and was the player of the year. He's a sophomore. Mm-hmm. So you see the impact of that class. Then we had, another guy, Brady Miles, who was a special teams player of the year. He's a freshman. Mm-hmm. So he made an impact pretty well on. Then you have Curtis Allen, who scored 10 touchdowns last year as a true freshman. He made an impact early on, last year as a freshman. So it's, it's easy to say that, we can do it. About 5 of those guys made the all-rookie team last year. So you feel good about it. But then we still have a process that we can build you up and grow you where we redshirted guys last year. Mm-hmm. Those guys came in, bought into the program, took it upon themselves, to say, well, Coach, I'm going to get bigger, faster, stronger, and put myself in position next year. But it's kind of us trusting in them and them trusting in us. And, we have a process here, and that process works. If you're ready to play, you're going to play. If you're not, it's our job as coaches to get you ready, and we feel like we do a good job of that.
Well, 16 guys hope to make an impact for the upcoming season. Still more to come for the Panthers, and we talked about their season is going to begin Labor Day weekend as they'll play in a classic in Canton, Ohio against Morehouse, and we'll talk more about that throughout the course of the spring and the summer as we get ready for kickoff. Coach, as always, thank you for joining us. Thank you for allowing me to be with you to talk about this upcoming recruiting list, and hopefully we can see Virginia Union in the conference championship game and making the postseason again this upcoming season.
That's our goal. We appreciate it, Sean.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us on the CIAA Network. You can always go back to this on demand, and also VUU Athletics, their website. You can go back and check out this on demand as well. For the coach, Dr. Alvin Parker, I'm Sean Robertson. Thank you for joining us for Virginia Union's 2023 Signee Day list. Thank you.